Welcome to the Irish Farmers Journal Weekly Podcast.
Hello and welcome to this week's podcast. I'm Hannah Quinn-Mulligan, news correspondent with the Irish Farmers Journal. Coming up on the show this week, Minister Creed justifies mandatory EID sheep tagging.
I don't accept that there wasn't any consultation. I mean, there was an extensive consultation in 2015. We discussed the matter again around the terms and conditions of the sheep welfare scheme. EID is the best available technology for traceability.
And low-cost loans, but only for dairy farmers.
This loan system is designed around the dairy farmer, so it's designed around providing flexibility, particularly around the volatility of milk prices, which is a factor of the industry around the world at the moment.
But first, there was a major backlash from farm organisations last week on new mandatory sheep tagging that was introduced by the Minister for Agriculture, Michael Creed. The Minister spoke to our correspondent Thomas Hubert about his decision and the consultation process, which farm organisations say fell short.
I don't accept that there wasn't any consultation. I mean, there was an extensive consultation in 2015. We discussed the matter again around the terms and conditions of the sheep welfare scheme. EID is the best available technology for traceability. And we're exporting, all around the world. So, I mean, that's really important, for us in terms of traceability. And it's the right time we're talking about introduction on the 1st of October. Like, what happens when there's an issue and somebody says, oh, you had all of this information in your department? Is that the day that we kind of say, oh, we should have done something?
Was there an issue? Is there
there was an issue in Donegal last year where it took the department a couple of weeks to find out the herd of origin. If that was a more serious disease outbreak, our reputation internationally would be in tatters.
Has it been raised recently by your partners?
It's an issue in terms of market access.
Okay.
It is an issue in terms of market access.
So what can happen between now and October to prepare for this, between the department, yourself, the farming organisation? What's the plan for implementation?
The announcement is that that we will be proceeding with this on the 1st of October, and we will work out the technical detail and the IT detail with marts and what are referred to as central recording points, marts and factories, in terms of the implementation of this.
There's a once-off €50 payment offered to farmers. Is that open for discussion if they come back to you saying it doesn't cover such a quick transition?
We've made the announcement. We've got. I mean, in fairness, okay, the IFA have stated that they're against it, but other farm organisations, meat industry, pedigree breeders have said they're in favour of it. But I know some publications haven't carried the Macron affirmative statement, but some have. There isn't a blanket resistance to this, and some people do recognise that EID is the best available technology in terms of traceability.
The Irish Farmers Journal Weekly Podcast.
New mart safety measures have drawn controversy from a number of farming stalwarts. Rules include no farmers on walkways next to animal pens and a ban on the use of sticks on young calves. I chatted to some farmers about their opinion on the new regulations at my local mart in Kilmallock in County Limerick on Bank Holiday Monday.
Michael Ahern, I'm from the West Limerick.
So we're here at Kilmallock Mart. What do you think of the mart safety?
Oh, it is very well done. Very well done, actually.
Do you think it was due to be done?
Oh, it was overdue.
Okay.
Overdue.
And how many years have you been coming to Kilmallock
40
Mart?
years.
Have you seen many accidents or anything?
I heard about them, I never seen them. Yeah.
But some people would say it's an old way that's dying out and that they're putting more rules and regulations on it. They'd be annoyed by it.
No, it's not. No, it's sure safe. It is very important. If you get knocked by an animal tree, you could wind up in a wheelchair.
And who's this man here?
This is Danny Horton.
Oh, that Horton. I've been drunk all. I've come here over 40 years. I suppose it's having Michael.
And what do you think about the mart safety?
I think the best thing ever, the regulations here now with health and safety. The best thing ever. Where farmers can stand up now and look down at their cattle and worry about it. I know there's fun against a lot of the old farmers would love to come in and walk around cattle. Times have changed.
And you don't mind?
Well, a lot of people do mind. Like, they love to see cattle. If we're buying cattle, they love to walk around them. But with health and safety, now, if we get a belt, the mart is live, see? And you can't have it everywhere.
And have you heard many people complaining about it?
Well, there's no complaining. They're all into the system now and there's no more about it. You know, and they're happy. It's a good thing. And they're like, you know, there's a big market there now, sure. You couldn't control if we hadn't health and safety. You wouldn't be able to do it.
It's a bank holiday, and what are the
you-
numbers like compared to other bank holidays? Is it good?
I said that they're going up a side of
They're up to about 2,500.
They're up to side of cattle today now.
Have you seen many accidents over the years?
Well, you know, the majority of people, very little. You know, unless someone just get in, with cattle today, yes, the cattle today, see, they're seen over now. You see, any farmer now at home looking at the cattle, is a one-man band. And to see when cattle come in here then, with the crowd of people, they get excited. And to see you can get no one no more now to look after cattle. You can get no one. Michael could do that. Even a lot of them in there now, you're loading cattle, you're a one-man band. In the story. Let's see no until the man goes out in the following morning and when he's ready to go to the factory and that's it.
Preventative is better than the cure, isn't it?
Yes, and to see this, I suppose the time is coming now to see there's going to be an awful thing. I see there in the Farmer's Journal about there's no sticks. Well, you don't get me wrong now. If you're here in the mart today now, you have to have a stick.
But you don't have to use it.
But you want to know your job. If we're used to cattle all over life, you need cattle settle and give them time to relax. And look, I see right on cattle, I never use the stick. They'll go up in the line, give them time, they'll go away themselves. You know, which is but to see the way things are changing now, people will have to use sticks for the set to sit. Ideally, anyway, put them in there, you can't put them in with your hand, you'll have to have a stick to do something. You know, I suppose that's fighting against there again. So, how my friend, how you? But after I could tell her no more then.
Thank you very much.
Not like it, you know.
You're listening to the Irish Farmers Journal podcast.
Now, while farmers wait on low-cost loans that were promised in the budget and expected, according to the Minister for Agriculture, at the back end of this year, there have been low-cost loans launched for dairy farmers through co-ops. Kevin Bellamy, Global Head of Dairy at Rabobank, told our news correspondent Thomas Hubert about the nationwide rollout of MilkFlex adjustable loans for dairy farmers and says that milk prices for the coming months look better than anticipated.
Hello, this is Thomas Hubert, news correspondent with the Irish Farmers Journal. I'm here with Kevin Bellamy, who is the Global Head of Dairy for Rabobank, and you're visiting Dublin today for the launch of MilkFlex, the loan system that we knew for Glanbia suppliers, which is now going to other dairy farmers in the country, available to the wider industry. What is Rabobank's involvement in this finance, and how much of your business does it represent with Irish farmers here?
This is our only lending directly to farmers. We're part of the consortium with Finance Ireland and with IFIS to provide this loan system to farmers. We think it's particularly important to make sure that the loan market in Ireland is competitive. This loan system is designed around the dairy farmer, so it's designed around providing flexibility, particularly around the volatility of milk prices, which is a factor of the industry around the world at the moment, and will continue to be so. So when milk prices fall, then we offer a payment holiday. When milk prices rise, then we accelerate the payments a little bit more because farmers can afford to pay more at those periods. And we also flex the loan payments according to the production throughout the year. So we think it's an important way of supporting Irish dairying in the growth that we're currently seeing.
From your perspective internationally, is that something common around the world, or is it unique to Ireland?
Well, we've got different products to lend to farmers around the world. The MilkFlex scheme is particularly developed with Ireland in mind. Ireland's got a seasonal production pattern, so the cash flow throughout the year isn't constant. Ireland is an export nation with a small population. A lot of the extra growth we're seeing from Ireland will be exported, and therefore the exposure to commodity prices makes volatility much more a key factor here. So all of the features of MilkFlex were designed for Ireland, but we're using similar funds and systems tailored to the needs of other farmers around the world.
You've just mentioned prices. How are we looking? I know co-ops processors here in Ireland are going to set their monthly price in the next few days. What are the signals you're seeing at the moment? What can farmers expect for the milk price this year?
Well, obviously it's been a terrible spring here in Ireland. The weather's been appalling, and it's been really difficult for some Irish farmers. What we're seeing at the moment, though, is that's probably helped prices. This cold snap in March in Europe and the the poor weather here in Ireland and other parts of Europe, although we've had quite good weather on the mainland, it's meant that the spring peak this year is much more spread out and not so emphasised as we'd normally see. We thought we were heading for a downturn in prices towards the second half in order to turn off the extra supply we're seeing, but I think we've tempered that extra supply and hence milk prices will remain more constant. There's some upward movement at the moment. Protein prices have crept up despite the European stocks, and fat prices are still very high. No stocks of butterfat around the world, and therefore with slightly less production than expected, those fat prices are nudged up again, and we're expecting to stay pretty elevated. So that will support the milk price over the medium term, and maybe a little bit better news than we have said a month ago.
Would the stock of powder still in the European Commission control be a worry if markets are stable or a bit stronger than expected, as you say? Is there a risk that this comes out and kills the joy in a way?
Well, our view is probably that those stocks will be fairly slow in coming out. We've seen a little bit more movement out, but still relatively small amounts. And I think no one's wanting to attract a huge headline on the selling price for a big pile of powder. So I think we'll see it flow out of intervention reasonably slowly. That will have less and less effect on the market over time as the market tears between some very old powder and new powder. And in fact, the reason for protein prices moving up a little bit is that current supplies have been a bit shorter than necessary, and that's nudged prices up. So you're already seeing a difference in prices between new and old powder, and I think we'll see more of that throughout the year, and eventually the intervention stocks will solve themselves.
Okay, Kevin Bellamy of Rabobank, thank you very much.
Stay tuned, because still to come we hear about the first agri-aware farm open day and a sneak peek of what farming is like in Zimbabwe.
Land leasing prices on the rise. For more in this week's Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
How demand is driving farmers to pay more for leased land. Find out how many Irish farmers receive over €60,000 in cap payments. CPOs and Kerry farmland will be included in the Greenway planning permission next month, and what the new sheep tagging rules mean for you.
Plus, don't miss your free 64-page glossy machinery magazine and our preview of next week's Balmoral show inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, on sale today.
Now, while some UK listeners might be familiar with the concept of Open Farm Sunday, where people from urban backgrounds have the chance to visit farms, the concept is new to Ireland, and AgriWare held its first farm open day across a number of farms on the May bank holiday. Just 1 in 10 Irish people have visited a farm, and our news correspondent Odile Evans met up with Geraldine Short to find out how the open day was going on her farm.
It's absolutely fabulous to see so many families, and that's what we were trying to aim at, was the families. So yeah, the organising, I have to say, along with a really, really good local team of neighbours and friends, we got together about maybe a month ago, and we asked people to come on board and help us and explain the day. And Deirdre and her AgriAware team have just been unbelievable. They're a young, really enthusiastic, brilliant team of young people. And it's been just great to work alongside them, you know, and we're just hoping now that the day will go, because the work has really been put into it from everybody, and we're so happy that there's, you know, people here enjoying the day.
And we've got free ice creams. What else have we got going on?
We have free ice creams, we have free teas and coffees with along with a bun from the Wicklow Country Markets. We have cookery demonstrations with Catherine Layden. We have the NDC here. We have local businesses. We have Kilmullen Farm lamb. We have Wicklow Oilseed Rape. We have Wicklow eggs. We have Wicklow Wolf. So it's all very localised, and we would supply all those suppliers, all those businesses with, you know, mainly the tillage crops for their products. So it really is trying to show people from start to finish, you know, where their food is planted, sown, and where it ends up, and who it ends up, who produces it. And that's what I think is the main aim of this, is for families to come and really realise, ask the questions where their food is coming from and how it's, you know, supplied, and, you know, to shop local as well.
I watched the sheep shearing and everything else. Do you see this happening again around the country next year? Yeah?
I would imagine so, yeah, absolutely. The sheep shearing has been a great success. The sheepdog trials. There's a kids zone where it's very interactive for kids, and I'd imagine, you know, there's 4 farms around the country, 1 in Mayo, one in Cork, one in Dublin, and ourselves in Wicklow. And what they aim, hopefully AgriWare would aim to do, is to have one in every county in Ireland, which would be amazing.
On one big day.
One big day, have an open farm day, and have an open day in every county, which would be just fabulous.
We hope that you're enjoying this Irish Farmers Journal podcast. Find out more at farmersjournal.ie.
Our correspondent Thomas Hubert recently interviewed a second-year agricultural engineering student, Chris Loughlin from Zimbabwe. Chris is studying an IT Tralee, but he spoke about life working on the 17,000-hectare farm in Zimbabwe and treated us to the dulcet tones of his accent. Now, some people might say that a Scottish accent is appealing to the ladies, but I'd say that Chris would give the Scots a run for their money.
I've come across from Zimbabwe, down in southern Africa. I heard about the IT through colleagues and through a special group there that does this sort of thing in terms of looking for positions for international students throughout the world. I had a great interest in engineering, and one of our main industries is agriculture back home. And just to take it home, I thought it would be a very good idea to come across and try and get the best qualification that I could in this part of the world. I chose Ireland because it's got a very, very good industrial side with the agriculture, as well as a very good reputation within those industries. And coming to the IT itself, I heard about it and I decided I'd come and just wing it, sort of, to come and give it a go and see if it was. And it's been a fantastic choice so far.
So tell me a bit more about where you come from in terms of the connections to agriculture and how farming is where you are in Zimbabwe.
We've got big farms, and a lot of our export and things goes all over the world. We've got a lot of our vegetables and things going to the UK, and we're very big into tobacco and sugarcane industry. And I myself was managing a farm just before I came across, big 17,000 hectare thing that had lots of animals, lots of cattle, lots of wild game, all sorts of things. And we were doing tobacco and a whole variety of vegetables. And from that perspective, you sort of get to know everybody in the agriculture industry across there. It is big, but in terms of big, we've got a lot of land doing it, but not a lot of people are farming. It's a very expensive industry to get into. A lot of it is workforce related. We have more workforce than anything else in terms of what we use. We don't use a lot of tractors and things, so that's what I'm trying to get across and bring back in. And there's lots of connections, not only through Zimbabwe, but everywhere. Zimbabwe, Zambia, all the surrounding countries. I know people from every part of that sort of, and you can actually get there and pretty much talk about agriculture to any single person, and they'll have some bit of their knowledge of it, having been in it or having been around it, as it's one of our biggest industries for that area.
What's a typical day in the life of a farm manager with 17,000 hectares in Zimbabwe?
Oh, it's quite a busy one, actually. There's no time for sleep, that's for sure. You're up probably 3 or 4 times a night checking tobacco and things like that. You're organizing workforce. You've got to just, as a main job as a manager is just enforcing that all the guys are doing what they need to do to best. I mean, there's a lot of work in harvesting things like tobacco and any of the vegetables and things like that. And because we're exporting them across, we've had to bring in a heck of a lot of paperwork into it. So you've got to make sure that everything's set for that. You've got to make sure that everything is according to the right law, as well as according to what is required for this side of the world. In Zimbabwe, we've got standards, but again, for the requirements that are across this side in the world, you've got to have certain ways of doing things, and you've got to make sure that all your equipment as well all has those regulations inside, so you can't have too much emissions or something like that, because this side of the world is very focused on environment and very focused on staying green and clean. And so we're also kind of trying to concentrate on that there, though there's not a lot. As I said, it's a lot workforce, so you've got to also try and bring in with chemical sprays and things like that. You've got to keep an eye on it. So pretty much you're driving around the farm constantly just checking everything. You're never there for more than 5 minutes because you're on your bike onto the next place. And there's a lot of difficulties as well. We don't often have a lot of electricity. Sort of things like you can't send emails and things to other people, so you get in a car and you drive the whole way across the farm to tell somebody something. You don't have a phone to just ring up somebody and say, do you have this part? It's very difficult to get sort of the things as well, like parts and things like that. That's hopefully where I'm going to make a big thing about is that now that I'm learning about tractors, learning what they require, I can come in with all that information and provide it for people that have none of it there, not an option, and hopefully work with big companies to try and get that into that area.
You've been in Ireland how long now? How are you finding it so far?
It's a bit wet. I've been here for about 2 years now. This is the second year, so I came straight across, went straight into college. And it's a lovely country, absolutely beautiful. Love the people here, love the culture and things like that. It's very similar to home in which it's simplistic, but you've got technological advances and advances in society and things like that you just don't see at home. And I was very welcomed here when I arrived here. Everyone was really, really helpful and kind, and it was good to see. And you know what? It felt like being at home again. That's the best way to put it, I suppose.
You're taking part in a project with us, the Farmers Journal, around ag engineering. Can you tell us a bit more about this?
So basically what has been put forward to us is we're trying to create a miniature tractor that is safe for children to ride, and so that I suppose we can duplicate a bigger tractor and put a small one so that when your dad's out farming or something like that, you can follow around in the little tractor helping out where you can. And so we're looking forward to that. We've put a lot of work into it. We've got small mini projects, which we're going to have on show next week. And we've put a lot of work into it, and it'll be good to see what the feedback is from that once we've got that all out. And it's fantastic being part of that and involved in it. And if we get the go-ahead, we're going to be building that for next year, for the end of this year, for Christmas time, and hopefully we'll have some fantastic things to show.
And that's it for this week. Thanks for listening. And remember, you can find us on Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. We even do that old-fashioned thing of printing a newspaper that you can buy in shops. The sound engineer this week was Sarah Gray, and I'm Hannah Quinn Mulligan.
The Irish Farmers Journal podcast, online at farmersjournal.ie and on iTunes every Thursday.